So let's get into story time, man. And I want to talk about how I ended up getting my degree in industrial engineering, right? Because this reality, to be honest, could easily have not happened. And going into college, school for me was a breeze, right? I was coasting, getting A's and B's, and I thought I can make that same transition into college. And boy, oh boy, was I fooling myself. Not only did I place into remedial reading and into developmental math, it just seemed like my path to graduating was going to be a hard path from the get go. And luckily for me, when I realized that off Jump Street, a 4-year degree I was supposed to get was about to be 5 because I placed in these classes because of some low scores, I realized that this wasn't going to be no cakewalk. So I had to buckle in and I had to get serious. And I was fortunate enough to take another test to get out of developmental reading and get into English 101. And I was fortunate enough to get out of pre-calculus part 1, but they wouldn't let me test out of pre-calculus part 2. So I was still behind when I was supposed to start with Calc 1 as a freshman. So what I ended up doing was I took pre-calc 2, passed that with flying colors, and I doubled down and took calculus and physics for engineers in the same exact semester. Lord, I don't know what I was doing, right? And because of that, my GPA off Jump Street was trash because I barely made it by. Fast forward, I'm in the second semester of my freshman year and I signed up for this class called Operations Research. And someone was telling me, man, you sure you want to do this, man? This professor is tough, right? And I was like, I'm good. I've never had a challenge with being able to pass a class. I'm confident in my abilities and my intellect. Well, I was sitting at about 19, 20 something credits and I had to drop a class. It was too much to take on. And I happened to drop operations research. That entire semester, I seen all of my fellow freshman colleagues sitting outside of the desk of that professor, having to go through their homework. After they pass their homework, having to go through a test. And then if they passed the test, they passed a topic. And so many people were spending all their time in this class. Only God knows why I chose that class. And it was meant for me not to take it then. Because little did I know, I would have to go back and take him my junior year of industrial engineering. And man, it was the hardest challenge I've ever faced in my life. And I remember the premise of this class was easy. You learn a topic, you get a homework, you got 24 hours to do that homework. If you pass the homework, you can take the test. If you pass the test, then you pass the topic. You pass 7 topics, you don't need to take the class anymore, that's a C. You pass 8, that's a B. You pass 9, that's an A. Easy, right? Not so much. Every test had a trick or a twist or a turn that pretty much would throw you off if you didn't do additional research behind the scenes, right? The homework alone and the course alone would not allow you to pass that test. And that was one of my greatest tests in life at that time because it let me know that life is not that simple. The way he structured the class was simple, but the way he actually wanted you to learn was hard. But if you can pass that class, you can do anything in life. Well, I got to a point where I knew I wasn't going to pass this class. And I had this 5-page justification on saying why I know this information and why I feel like I deserve to take the second part of the class. Because if I didn't, I would have to wait a whole nother year before I can take part 1. And I remember speaking to one of my advisors saying, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. Every year, my mom is struggling to keep me in school. I can't afford to be in school for 5 and 6 years. So I go to his office hours and I tell him, I said, what do you think? Do you think I'll be able to pass this class? I really don't want to drop it. I'm not a quitter, but I can't afford to fail this class. I can't afford to have to retake this. I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, shrugs his shoulder and says something sarcastic like he always does. But there was something about the tone that made me say, I'm not going to give up. And from that moment, I think he respected me more because of the fact that I didn't give up. And he gave me an incomplete. So I didn't pass and I didn't fail, but I was able to move on. Fast forward to my senior year, I had a goal to get a 4.0. And I can remember I had 3 classes with this professor. And he tells me, 3 classes with me? That's like committing suicide. And at the time, I didn't really think much about it because I'm just like, I'm in grind mode. I'm trying to get out of here. It's time to live life. And it was one of the most difficult semesters ever, but I did it. And it let me know that anything I do in life is possible. And from that point on, the stresses of industry never got to me, right? When the tough got going, I was able to buckle down and make things happen. Listen, some things in life are just not given. Some things in life you just got to go beyond and you have to push through whatever you think you can do. On paper, what I did shouldn't have been possible. But in 4.5 years, I was able to graduate with a degree in industrial engineering. Only about 4 of my classmates that came in 2009 graduated with me. I was able to accomplish what I wanted. I was able to get a good GPA like I wanted, and I was able to move on to the next phase of my life. And that was a reality that I didn't even know if it would happen. The money was running out. My time was running out. I was taking classes that seemed impossible to pass, watching as people that were there years before me were there years after me still taking his course. Moral of the story is, don't ever give up. Just because something's hard doesn't mean you can't get through it. You gotta figure it out. When you stay strong, mentally, physically, and emotionally, there's nothing you can't do. So just remember, you got this. Peace.
Put that work in. 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 They got to catch up. Cause I'm too fast like you say. Don't put me in no one-on-one, get cooked up. Well done. Came about that low pond, but now I'm swimming with